Hello Year 5, we're going to be building on our newspaper writing skills today, and we're going to be looking at using direct and reported speech in our newspaper articles, so the use of dialogue to help give us some more facts within the newspaper. There are 4 key things we're going to focus on today. How to punctuate direct speech accurately. That will be a revision exercise. We've done lots of that this year in Year 5. Finding the differences between direct and reported speech. We have covered a little reported speech before, but not in as much detail as we've done direct. Learning how to create examples of both, and then applying it to a newspaper body. So, our first job today, I want you to pause the video and have a little look at these examples. Only one of these sentences is correct, and I want you to think about which one it is and think about a reason why. Pause now. Okay, have you worked it out? Number 3 is the correct example of direct speech because we've got inverted commas before and after the speech, which they're evident in example 2 as well. But the difference between example 2 and example 3 is that example 3 has a piece of punctuation before the final inverted commas. So whenever we're writing any speech that's direct, we have to have that punctuation that comes before. Now that could be an exclamation mark, a question mark, a comma, or a full stop, depending on what you need in your sentence for it to make sense, but it must be there. The reason the first example is incorrect is because the inverted commas are in the wrong place. Yes, there's a comma there, but actually the inverted commas need to come after the word moon with an additional comma. Okay, let's move on. So, the next thing we're going to look at is having an example, is this example again. So our keys to success for this is that our inverted commas need to come before and after the exact words that come out of the person's mouth. There must be punctuation before the final set of inverted commas, as we said before. And if there's more than one person speaking, you'll also need to start a brand new line for each person that speaks. If you're unsure about this or feel you need extra practice, you can have a look at task 1 on the task sheet. Okay, now moving on to the second part of the lesson, and that is to find the difference between direct and reported speech. So I'm going to give you a bit of thinking time. I've got 2 sentences here in red that I want you to find the difference between. How many differences can you spot? So the first one is, she said that she hated me. And the second one is, I hate you, she said. Same information, what's different? Have a little think. If you want to pause the video, you can. These are the differences that I came up with. So, the first example is reported speech. She said that she hated me. There are no quotation marks, no inverted commas to show that something has been directly spoken. It paraphrases what's been said, it summarises it. So it's giving the information without using a direct quote. It's got different pronouns in there. And in this example, we've used the examples she and me. And it's in the different tense, hated. So these are things that we would expect to find in reported speech. The other example, I hate you, is direct speech. It's got quotation marks, those inverted commas, specifically for the words that have come out of the speaker's mouth. We don't need them around she said, because when you talk, you don't say that all the time. It's got different pronouns, I, you, etc., because the words are being spoken by different people. And the actual direct speech bit is in the present tense, okay, here in this example. That's something that we need to bear in mind as we're working. So, on your task sheets now, you're going to be doing your own little task where you write your own set of rules for reported speech and direct speech. Again, try and write them in your own words. If you need to refer back to this slide, please do. Okay, next bit. This is where we start to get a bit creative. We're going to learn how to create examples of both direct and reported speech. And to start off with, we're going to use our imaginations. We're going to imagine that we are some of the people involved in the newspaper article we're going to be writing. So, you're going to fill in the speech bubbles on your task sheet, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Here we go. So task 3 says to write down what each of these people who witnessed the moon landings might have said upon watching these events unfold. Just write a sentence, or 2 short ones, that they might have said inside the speech bubble, and we'll convert it to direct or reported speech a little bit later. So, this is not a real person, I made this name up. Mary Brown, age 36. She worked for NASA, so how would she have been feeling? Think about some of the things we discussed in Monday, we thought about on Monday. Think of those emotions that a journalist will try and evoke in the reader. Then we can think about Neil Armstrong. What would he say as he landed on the moon for the first time? Have a think about some of the phrases that might come out of his mouth. And then I've put his wife here. What might she be saying as she watches her husband on television landing on the moon for the first time? And think about what President Kennedy, the American president, will be saying. Remember, it was his government that funded this space mission, so think about the feelings that he would have. And you can create a little sentence. Don't worry about any speech marks or anything like that. Just literally think about the words that they will be saying. Okay. So, when you've done that, what we're going to do is to turn this speech bubble into examples of direct speech and reported speech. So we've got our keys to success for writing direct speech that we looked at with our punctuation that we need, and if you want to flip back in the video, do so. Here, with the direct speech, I've taken this information that's in the speech bubble and I've literally put inverted commas around it. You can see here, get my highlighter out, and you can see at the end as well, we've got our speech bubbles here. We've got our final punctuation as well before our final inverted commas there. Here, because the information about who is speaking comes before, I also need a comma to separate that. In the other example, I've put speech punctuation, those inverted commas here. So, let's have a look. Mrs. Lesniewski, age 21, obviously, who witnessed the rocket launch from a viewing platform, said it was an amazing sight. The ground vibrated underneath me. In the other sentence, the direct speech comes at the beginning. Either way, it is exactly what was written within this speech bubble. With reported speech, though, it's slightly different. You still need to kind of say who is speaking, but we're paraphrasing, we're summarising, we're saying sort of what they said in our own words. So Mrs. Lesniewski, age 21, witnessed the rocket launch from a viewing platform. She described the amazing experience that had caused the ground to vibrate. So I haven't used those words, I've phrased it slightly differently because you're giving an impression of what that said. What I've just noticed I should say from. Apologies, I'll correct that for you on the worksheet. So, what you're going to do now is have a go at task 4, looking back to the worksheet. You're turning the information in these speech bubbles into examples of direct speech and reported speech. You can choose where you put the direct speech within the sentence, that's entirely up to you. Have a little go at that. If you need to pause the video, do so now. Okay, finally, the last task today is for you to have a go at redrafting the body of your text to include examples of both direct and of reported speech. What you can do is to think about where they would fit. Obviously, we don't want somebody talking about something that happened whilst the astronauts were on the moon at the very beginning of the article where it might not make sense. So have a think about where you can add in your quotes, and if you need to adapt what you wrote previously to include that, then by all means do. Okay, right, enjoy writing, and I look forward to spending some more time going through literacy with you tomorrow. Take care.